In this video, I want to show you how to use Desmos to plot parametric equations, to graph parametric equations. It's not hard, but it's not quite as straightforward as it was to graph polar equations. With polar equations, all we had to do was use different variables. Instead of using x and y, we used r and theta. But with parametric equations, it's a little trickier because there are actually three variables involved. Two of those variables are x and y, and the third one is the parameter, t. The good news is that it's easy to do if you just remember that what you're really plotting is x and y in the same way as I've plotted the point 2, 3, which is here, by typing in the coordinates of that point 2, 3. So that's just x, y. Let's try doing that using that first set of equations that we did both in the previous video and the one before. We had x equals t plus 4, so I'm going to type t plus 4 as though it was an x coordinate. My y equation was y equals t squared plus 1, so I'm going to type t squared plus 1 as though it was a y coordinate. And you can see that when I do that, I get a piece of a graph. In fact, I don't get quite the whole graph that I had on the screen in the first of the videos where we talked about this, but that's because right now t is only going between 0 and 1. I think at one point I said t should go between 0 and 4. And when I do that, was it even that much? Maybe it was 0 and 3. That looks a little more like it. So this is the piece of the graph that I got when I graphed it by hand. But there, I let t vary from 0 to 3, and I plugged t in to get various points. And in this case, what's happening is Desmos is interpreting all the values for t between 0 and 3. Well, maybe not all of them, because there's an infinite number, but a whole heck of a lot more of them than I did. It's evaluating for many, many values of t between t equals 0 and t equals 3, plugging those values of t in and plotting a point for each x, y that results in that. So it's doing the same thing as we did in that first video. It's just doing it for a bunch more points, and then you can play with, things like color and all that kind of stuff. For practice, let's do this with a couple other of the pairs of parametric equations that we played with on our previous video. One of them was x equals 3t plus 12 and y equals negative 2t plus 5. They were both linear equations. Well, since x equals 3t plus 12, I'm going to write the x coordinate as 3t plus 12, and then a comma. And the y coordinate was negative 2t plus 5, so I type negative 2t plus 5. Close the parentheses, and there I have a piece of a line. Now I want t to go from 0 to 5 in this case. When I do that, I get a different piece of a line. I might even want t to go from negative 3 to 5, or negative 3 to 2. Whatever the domain is for t that I want to work with or that I've been given to work with, I can just change it. Let's do another one. My third equation was x of t equals 5 times the square root of t. So I'll write 5 and then sqrt, and it gives me a square root symbol, and then the t. And I have to arrow out of that before I type my comma. And my second equation was 2t plus 8. Close the parentheses. Desmos automatically defaults when you're doing parametric equations to t going from 0 to 1. So all you have to do if you want to change that is change it. Let's try changing it to 8. Let's try changing this side to negative 5. Let's try changing this side to negative 10. Why isn't it changing? Well, because t is inside a square root. T can't vary from negative 10 because I can't take the square root of a negative number. It doesn't matter what I put down here, it's never going to be any smaller than 0. Our last one was two logarithmic equations. I had x of t equals log base 5 of t squared. So I'm going to type log then the underscore character, and that automatically puts my cursor down in a subscript position. And I can type my 5. Then I have to arrow to the right to get out of that, and then I can type my t, that's the hat over the 6 squared, the log base 5 of t squared. Now this time I forgot my parentheses, so Desmos doesn't know what I mean by t, so it's asking me if I want to add a slider. I don't, because I'm trying to do parametric equations, so I'm going to put my comma in, and as soon as I do that, it gets rid of that message. My second equation was y equals log underscore 5, and my argument was t plus 1. So this time I need to put that in parentheses, which means I'm going to have nested parentheses. Close the arguments parentheses, close the coordinate pairs parentheses, and then you can see down here what my graph looks like. Let's change the domain. Boy, changing it to 10 didn't change it very much. What about changing it to 100? 1,000? Look, even the left-hand side is moving. I wonder why that is. I actually have no idea. What if I change this to negative 1,000? Well, now I can't take the log of a negative number. So while this could be 0, t can be 0, can be equal to 0. It can't be anything less than that, because anything less than that is going to give me actually, no, it can be like negative 0.9. So let's put that in. Negative 0.999. But that's it. Interesting. An interesting graph. Anyway, that's all you need to know to be able to do graphs of parametric equations on using Desmos. Now, this is going to become a very valuable skill in the near future to you. So while you don't have to use Desmos, you are more than welcome to use Desmos to see what your graphs look like. If I ask you to graph parametric equations by hand, then you will need to demonstrate that you have done that. You've found values and you know how to do that process. But if I do, it won't be a very difficult graph, because while I want to know that you know how to do it, I'm very well aware that for the most part, you would be using a calculator to do the really heavy lifting. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed playing around with Desmos.